The 49ers snapped their 3-game losing streak on Sunday Night Footballs with a win against the Chargers last night, 22-16. Jason and I will talk everything there needs to be talked about from this game. It's enjoyable. New Sprint Right Option podcast starts now.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Right Option podcast. Oh my goodness, we are live. It is a new edition of the Sprint Right Option podcast coming to you on a nice Monday evening. A little chilly in Sacramento, even chillier over on the East Coast. I am Andrew Pasquini wearing a victory hat for a Victory Monday, joined as always by Jason Aponte. A less exciting hat, but a very good one as it is.
I mean, winning team that's ready to go. Kick the shit out of the Cardinals on Monday night also too and move into first place. I mean, no better hat than this. And, you know, look at the 49ers, myth busting and everything. You know, can't win games after halftime when you're not leading. And, well, that's 4 out of 6. That's 4 out of the last 6 that the 49ers have been losing at the half that they came back and won. So, pretty funny.
And back-to-back as well. That's back-to-back wins trailing at the I know. I didn't think it was physically possible that the Niners can come back at halftime.
Andrew,
and they've done it two weeks in a row.
Andrew, you mean that trends that people lambast and yell about can be broken? Unbelievable,
yeah,
man.
Hey, usually it's how it works. But yeah, as we said, the Niners, they pick up the victory 22-16. Don't know if you heard yet, Jason. They were trailing at halftime of that game. We just mentioned it, so you heard it. It was 16-10 at half. And the second week in a row, the Niners defense holds the opposing offense to 0 second half points. We'll dive into the defense a little bit later. There's plenty of talking points. It feels like it was a very slow trending game. To a point where in the first half, I think I tweeted, I feel like a bozo waiting all day for Sunday night. Niners turned it around in the second half. The offense started clicking a little bit more. I wouldn't say it was the best showing from the 49ers offense, but the defense is definitely the pinpoint. But Jason, as always, it's a game we're talking about. We're going to start with the quarterback position. Go in order. Pro Football Focus gave James Garoppolo a 76.9 offensive grade last night. And I know everybody's opinion on PFF grades. So I'm going to introduce a new grade. It's the Andrew Pasquini grade. And Andrew Pasquini's grade gives Jimmy Garoppolo a A-OK. He was A-OK last night. And I think that's really, if you want to like dive into the specifics of maybe a throw or two, I think that's all we can really say about Jimmy Garoppolo last night is he was there and he didn't hurt the team, which I think in theory makes it a good Jimmy Garoppolo game.
And he continues his fine play. And again, you know, if people are upset and want to be mad, that's just who they are. You've got to let them be at this point. But yeah, I thought Jimmy was fine, especially watching it back again. I thought in certain instances in this game, he was more than fine, actually. On 3rd and long, money downs, Jimmy was making his money. And there is a discussion to be had about the throw to Ray McCloud. Improvisational.
Was just watching it.
Looked like 2017 to me when he was doing things like that. And that is what the kids call a dot. So, yeah, you know, we'll hit evergreen statement on the Sprint Right Option podcast. When Jimmy Garoppolo plays poorly, we will say he played poorly. This was not one of those days.
Yeah, it's so funny too, because like when he doesn't play poorly, it feels like he had a good game. And as simple as that, a Niners sickness with the stat that I was going to mention, just the most Jimmy Garoppolo stat of them all. In his career, he is 10-2 in starts with 0 touchdowns, which is the best record by any quarterback since 1950.
But Andrew, the thing that is missing is how many of those games where they're Jimmy Sneak quarterback runs. So throwing a touchdown, running a touchdown, potato, tomato, don't care. Yeah. It's still all a touchdown. Yes. So like, again, I feel like while you're laughing about that, I feel like that stat is thrown around because people want to beat the dead horse of what Jimmy Garoppolo
it's the
is, right?
Garoppolo
Like, yeah,
meme, and that's why I'm
right,
laughing. Is it's
right,
developed into the Garoppolo meme, but like
right.
we saw a few situations where he didn't throw for a touchdown, but like 3 quarterback sneaks. I think he went 2 for 3 on them, which I think was the
Yeah,
first failed quarterback sneak.
that's the
But
first time that someone stopped him. So
yeah,
credit to the Chargers for doing something that nobody else could ever do.
which by the way, I love Kyle Shanahan. Well, we'll talk about him later in terms of complaints, but the 4th down quarterback sneak came off the heels of a failed 3rd down quarterback sneak. And Shanahan said, okay, we got a yard on that one. We're still a yard away. Let's just do it again and get a yard again. And that was probably my favorite. It shows you how easily entertained I am. That was my favorite Kyle Shanahan play call
Well, all
of the
right.
game. Back-to-back quarterback sneaks. I was yelling in my living room.
Well, while there is like a lot of contention, as always, doesn't matter win or loss. Like, if you look at the 49ers Twitter, you can never tell if they won or lost after games, ever. You ever can. But I do think that it was funny to see everybody united in Jimmy Sneak, go, QB Sneak, Jimmy Sneak. Everyone in the timeline. Like, it literally was one after the QB Sneak, QB Sneak, QB Sneak, QB Sneak. Everyone in the building knew what was coming. Everybody wanted that. They got it, and it worked. I think that's one of the funniest things from last night, besides the fact that Robbie Gould missed a point after, and my mentions were littered. They were just like, Jason's right. And I'm just like, guys, let it go, man. It's fine. Like, I know it's a bit, and we stick to the bit, but it's like, damn, man, I didn't know this was my brand. Shout out to Aaron. Thank you for the donation. The throw to Ray Ray on the run up sideline was fire. Best throw he's made in years. Yeah.
JKBG with maybe his best comment of all time.
And I always love you, Beto. I'm just saying it wasn't just you. I was just saying that stat has been thrown around, and a lot of people are using it to like beat the dead horse. So it had nothing to do with you, buddy. I always appreciate you. Thank you.
We love, absolutely. Yeah, no, it is one of those stats where anytime Jimmy Garoppolo and quarterback wins is mentioned, it's kind of become the meme stat. But Jason, just real quick to your point of like, with Niners Twitter, you can never tell if the Niners won or lost. I decided to go back and I looked at my last tweet from the game when the game was going on. Tell me if this sounds like the Niners won or lost. This is my last tweet during the game. The Niners were 1 yard away from the end zone and had Jimmy Garoppolo stand 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Why? Just do the sneak thing. That was my last tweet of the game. The Niners win or lose. That's perfect for that.
I don't know.
I see Jesse here. He could tell us what's the Niners record when they score more points than their opponent. Is that the Garoppolo conversation? I think we're good. I think we covered everything.
No, I think, again, where he is going to largely operate and how he is going to help this offense is he has to convert those 3rd downs, those obvious passing downs, is what he did very well. And they had certain ways to extend the time for him, because there is someone on the offensive line who struggled a bit in this game that I'm sure we're going to get to. And his role is to be, like we said on the last episode, point guard. Get the ball out on time, get the ball to the guys that can make plays happen. And if Brandon Ayuk can bring in one of those catches, man, oh my goodness, that's a touchdown. And then Brandon Ayuk with the fumble, which I'm not going to kill him for. When you watch the replay, he just got twisted and he didn't know that he was going to land right on somebody's helmet with the ball pop out. So that would have been a drive that they were also moving the ball as well too. But I think the conversation largely about the offense and the frustration that so many people have is we're talking about the same thing again in week 9, week 10. Drops, penalties, execution. And it's like, damn, out of the bye week, why do we have to keep talking about this? This isn't being negative. I'm just saying in this instance, it didn't come back to bite the 49ers. The good news is there's 8 more weeks of football for them to figure this out. But again, we're in week 10, and it seems like almost every week that they're not playing those bum-ass Rams. We are talking about the offense. I can't resist. We are talking about the offense largely being the same thing. Yeah, last place. That couldn't be my team. But like it's about drops, it's about execution, all those things. And when you play opponents that are better, that are going to be more healthy, that's not going to be something that's a recipe for success. So that's the part I don't want to turn this negative, but I do. Anybody who has that concern with the offense right now, I completely understand. And I think that discussion is very valid.
And that might lean into some Shanahan talk down the road here a little bit later in the episode, because I have thoughts on Shanahan. Once again, shocker, he was a little conservative on 4th downs last night, maybe a little too conservative.
No way.
Never. Shanahan would never not go for 4th downs. He never does that. But let's move on to the running back position. I think this is where the real conversation for the offense starts. maybe the most surprising thing from the game last night, because if you would have asked me, Jason, and then if I would have asked you on Friday,
Mhm,
what do you think the touches ratio Christian McCaffrey to Elijah Mitchell would have been? I probably
mhm,
would have said 2-1 in favor of McCaffrey. I thought
mhm,
Mitchell would be very much to ease back into this offense. I thought
mhm,
they would take their time, especially with McCaffrey. Nope. Elijah Mitchell, 19 touches last night. Christian McCaffrey, 18. 18 of Mitchell's touches were carries, 18 carries, 89 yards. And the most impressive thing about the 18 carries for 89 yards is usually in games where, hey, yeah, 89 yards, that's a good amount of yards. But more
mhm,
often than not, that yardage is boosted by a 40-yard run. So it's really
mhm,
17 carries for 49 yards, but one of the carries went for 40. So it boosts the numbers. Elijah Mitchell's longest run of the game was 12 yards. It's
mhm,
that grossly consistent. He averaged 4.9 yards per carry. And all that tells you is with the short, long run of 12 yards and a 4.9 yard per carry, Elijah Mitchell was legitimately keeping the Niners ahead of the chains on
mhm,
every carry he had. He
mhm.
was maybe the best player on the offense yesterday in terms of the run game. I am pleasantly surprised by the game Elijah Mitchell had, and from here on, maybe the expectations change on what this run game is, because thinking McCaffrey is going to get the carries,
Mhm.
maybe that changes a little bit with last night. I know it's one game. Let's overreact to one game, but hey, that's what the NFL is. We overreact to one game 17 times a year.
No, I think that's the classic Kyle Shanahan, man. I like what Mitchell's doing. It doesn't matter. I'm not
Mhm.
going away from it. Hot hand thing. I really don't think that you should overreact to that. But I want to pose this to everyone who was worried about Christian McCaffrey and his injury history, right? Christian McCaffrey's not here for 1 year, not a rental.
Nope.
You're not going to run him 30
Yep.
times and just kill him, right? You have the luxury now of having Elijah Mitchell. Sure, he had an amazing game in this game. Good. But don't you want Christian McCaffrey to be fresh in
Yep.
January? Like,
Yes.
isn't the idea for him to be here for years and years and years? How do you do that? You siphon off the touches in this way. And if Elijah Mitchell is running better, give him the ball. Keep feeding him. Let him stay hot. And we've seen this happen over and over with the Kyle Shanahan running back thing. It's fantasy football people that are more upset
Yes.
with this discrepancy than it is fans of the San Francisco 49ers who
No.
want an efficient offense and who want the running game to get back to where it was.
Mhm.
The only way you do that is evenly distributing the touches, making sure both guys are fresh, making sure both guys are down the stretch ready for you, because guess what? Jeff Wilson ain't walking through that door.
No.
So if one of these guys goes down, you're back to square one where you were before. So for me, I have no problem with it. I don't care. Look, I have Christian McCaffrey in 1 or 2 fantasy leagues. Cool. I wish that he would have had a few more. I don't care, though. I don't care more than anything. And I think that had to be expected when everybody's healthy. Elijah's healthy. Debo's there. Ayuk, Kittle. You have to understand that this is going to go this way. And for all the people that are worried about Christian McCaffrey's injury history, what are you mad at now?
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan is not putting the ball in his hand over and over and over and running him into the ground. You've got to pick a side on this one. Do you want Christian McCaffrey to run the ball 30 times, and then if he gets injured, I'll see Kyle ran him into the ground? Or do you want to see this evenly distributed and the offense move efficiently, and then he's not getting the ball to McCaffrey? You've got to pick a side. You've got to be able to pick a side at this point. Why did you trade all those picks? Was it for 1 year? Was it for one Rams game? It was for many years. How do you do that? You
Yeah.
have to get the guy healthy and keep him healthy.
Yeah.
This is the part that I do. Again, I have to ask 49ers Twitter, if you're in here, are you mad to be mad? Do you want to just be mad at everything? Why can't you objectively just look at this right now and say that this is the best course of action going forward? There's going to be games where Christian McCaffrey outtouches Elijah Mitchell because he's probably running better in that game. But why on earth do you want to just see him just get 30 touches off the rip right now? I just don't get that. I don't get that part.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I agree with that. I think I was more. I thought maybe it'd be a 2-1 touch thing, whatever. I'm more surprised that Mitchell really took over the running back position in terms of carries as well, because I think McCaffrey had almost twice as many snaps as him, something close to that as well. Where
They
Mitchell,
can both be on the field.
yeah, McCaffrey definitely, you want him on the field more. Yeah, so I thought it was just interesting that not just out carried but out touched McCaffrey. That was the interesting one.
It's okay.
The Niners as a team, 41 carries for 157 yards. The high carry number shouldn't have been a surprise, especially with what the Chargers were they are on defense. But if you look at the Niners opening drive of the game, they opened with 4 consecutive carries by Christian McCaffrey. And then Garoppolo threw 3 consecutive times. And then Elijah Mitchell had 3 consecutive carries. So obviously the run game was going to be very important. And on paper, it doesn't look super impressive, but Deebo Samuel's 4 carries for 27 yards, I believe it was 6 carries for 27 yards. I might have been off. 4 carries for 27 yards. It was his highest carry total since week 3. And his 27 rushing yards was the most rushing yards he's had in a game since week 2. So it doesn't feel too big for Deebo Samuel. However, it was his most impressive game on the ground in a while. And maybe that has to do with the Niners have 2 very viable running back options right now in Mitchell and McCaffrey, that maybe it takes a little pressure off Samuel as well.
This is a good thing, Andrew.
Yes, this is a very good
thing. This is a great thing. It's not about, oh my God, you traded, because I had so many people in my post-game show in the comments, oh, you traded all those picks to give Elijah Mitchell. I don't give a shit about who's getting the ball as long as the team wins. Like, Why is everyone so focused on, well, you traded all this for Christian McCaffrey, he should get the ball 30 times. That is not a recipe for him to stay as a 49er on the field for very long, because those same people will tell you that they were worried about his injury history. Please, guys, I beg you, just let's slow down. Let's have some objectivity. Let's look at the big picture. Not this week, and not just him beating LA teams, which it seems like all Christian McCaffrey does. He's not here for that. He is here to help this team down the stretch.
And this will kind of transition to the receiver conversation. I saw a lot of tweets saying Samuel only had 2 receptions and Kittle only had 1 reception, and like they need to get more involved. The point of having all of these offensive weapons is so you don't have to use all of the offensive weapons as once. It's not like we're complaining Deebo Samuel and Kittle having 2 receptions and 1 reception respectively, when Pierre Garçon and Marquise Goodwin, and I'm just listing random Niner receivers, and AJ Jenkins are the other weapons. We're talking about an offense that features Elijah Mitchell, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle. It's okay if Samuel and Kittle don't get the touches you think they should be getting, because the Niners have plenty of other options. And so I don't care about the touches, because next week against the Cardinals, it could be McCaffrey gets 6 touches, but Samuel has 8 receptions for 120 yards and 6 carries for 80 yards. What are we complaining about? The offense worked. Sorry, it wasn't McCaffrey.
Leave it to 49ers Twitter
it's fun.
Get upset about touches distributing in a win when one guy was running. It's not like, all right, look, here's where I would understand the complaints. If you gave Elijah Mitchell more rushes on the ground, but he was averaging 1 per.
Yes.
He was getting stuffed in the backfield over and over, and you're not like, it was not the case. The guy was running well, so you give him the ball. And newsflash to anybody who just started watching the 49ers on Sunday Night Football, Kyle Shanahan doesn't give a shit about your fantasy football team or what he paid. If a guy is running well and he sees it, he's going to stick with him. That doesn't mean first round pick over this guy. It does not matter. It does not matter. He's going to do whatever he's feeling at that moment. And that's why you should stop worrying about fantasy football. And if your team is winning, doesn't matter how they get it done. Wins are a win. And I think that's going to be the overall theme of this episode. A win is a win. And I think that's another thing that we kind of have to talk people down about. Well, not down. Like, just we have to just calm them down. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was saying something in the, in the post game that I think was a little bit obvious, but then when Kyle Shanahan reiterated it in his post game speech, I said that the positive spin that I have from this game is things are not going to always be perfect. Things are not going to be the way you drew it up. Obviously, after the first drive and you're looking around like, oh shit, like here we go. But that's what good teams do. They win games when things are not working well. You find a way to scratch and claw. That's what I walked away impressed with, because a lot of teams, when things don't go their way and they're punched in the mouth right away, regardless of who's on the other side, you have to give the Chargers credit because they do get paid to play football as well too. That's a sign of a good team. Bad teams lose games like that. Good teams find a way to win ugly or lose pretty. I'll leave that decision for you.
I think it was after the Carolina game I posted a video because it felt like people were like, oh, well, of course they beat Carolina. Like they're better than them, right? And There's a great line from the show Letterkenny, and I'm probably talking to like the eight people here who watch Letterkenny because it's not super popular. It needs to be. Coach tells Shorzy and Jonesy, or Jonesy and Riley, they don't ask how, they ask how many, and that's what it comes down to. Yeah, it's not the prettiest win, but the Niners won, and that's ultimately what matters here. Back to the receivers a little bit. Brandon Ayuk continues his tour of, hey, I am the best receiver on the team. 6 receptions,
80 yards a
84
game.
yards.
Lock it in.
I think he's on pace right now for 1,000 receiving yards on the season. I think I saw that tweet somewhere. Juwan Jennings, 4 receptions, 40 yards. I think 3 of the 4 receptions came on third downs, converting all 3 for third downs, which is just the Juwan Jennings role. McCaffrey, 4 receptions, and after it's McLeod with 1, Samuel with 2, Kittle with 1, and Mitchell with 1. McLeod's 1 was a huge 33 reception. A dot from Jimmy Garoppolo up the sideline, improvising just a little bit. And I know this teeters back to the Garoppolo conversation, but Jimmy Garoppolo has at least 1 or 2 of those throws every week now. It's insane how many dots he's been dropping. I'm not saying the improvision throw on the run type throw. I'm just saying dots. And Jimmy Garoppolo has been doing that. Ray McLeod, the beneficiary last night. I thought it was a very good game from the receivers as a whole. Yeah, the Ayuk fumble sucked. It was the first play of a drive, but it happened early enough. Didn't really hurt the team. Things happen. It happens. The Niners receiver I thought were solid, led by Brandon Ayuk, which I think should be the case more often than not. Ayuk needs to lead this team in receiving yards every game because he's so good.
Let's start with the Ray McLeod, and I want to correlate that play to a beautiful play that happened against those bum ass Rams. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep saying that.
Oh, yeah, that's sorry, same old Rams, right?
Yeah, it's literally Ray McLeod in the Christian McCaffrey slot of just going into the flat and not even being part of the progression or anything like that. It's just to draw a defender away from the middle of the field. And then and then he goes through his progressions and he looks, they lock eyes, and he rolls and Jimmy throws it. Same thing that happened with McCaffrey against those bum ass Rams in SoFi. Same thing that just happened right there. So look, Ray McLeod makes a good play. Brandon Ayuk is wide receiver 1 on this team.
Yes.
80 yards, I think, for the last 4 or 5 games. Too good at what he does, man. Completely routed up whoever it was, that poor soul that was trying to guard him. He'll understand that you can't let that ball get on you. You got to snatch that thing out of the air. And, again, as far as the touches go with Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, don't have a problem with it because it never really felt like, well, where is this guy? Because other things were working. Again, you always have to remember when you have – that's the thing about, like, the Odell Beckham thing. Like, we joke, I want Odell. That'd be really cool. Yeah. Like, I really would love that. Not only for the content, but it would just be great because I think he'd look amazing. But the thing is, like John Lynch joked about, how many footballs are we going to play with? Like, there's going to be games where guys get left off and they just don't touch the ball. So, I mean, that's the thing. I think the person that we should really be talking about, I think the receiver who truly had the biggest impact in this game, Juwan Jennings.
Yeah.
And I've given him a lot of problems because of the drop passes, but on third down, he was the difference maker, man. I believe 20 of his receptions are on third down of the 27 that he has or something like that. And it's making a guy miss, getting tough yards, running through, man. Juwan Jennings had his best game of the season. It's very good to see him coming along. So while Brandon Ayuk continues his stellar play, another 80-yard game, drop in the bucket, but man, Juwan Jennings, I really have to give him his props, especially for as hard as we went against him because of the training camp drops and some of the drops and then the penalties and stuff. It almost felt like Juwan Jennings was like, you keep talking about OBJ, I'm here. Like, I'm here. So, like, I like that. But, I got to give Juwan Jennings props, man. He was great.
Juwan Jennings has 42 career receptions, 25 have come on third down. And it's just really at a point where if Jimmy Garoppolo drops back, this is the nicest. I'm happy you touched on this. This is the nicest thing Marketing Pro has ever said.
No, Marketing Pro likes us. He's my favorite Rams fan.
Us, but he tends to troll a little more.
No. What he does,
positive. Hey, Jason,
no, what he does,
and Pasquini, congrats on that lucky escaping win. Jimmy G throws on third down was like Matthew Dimes Stafford. Sorry, I stumbled on that. They both have injured shoulders or injured arms right now, so I guess there's another comparison between the two. Jimmy looks a little more healthy than Mr. Stafford down there.
Martin Pro, like I know we joke a lot about. I know we joke a lot about sweeping everybody in LA, which we did this year, 3-0, right? And you won't have another chance to play the team again. But I'm sorry that now it's week 10 and your season's over. Cooper Kupp has an injury. I'm sorry. I actually am. I'm not even being a jerk about this. Like, I really am sorry because football's more fun when the Rams have a chance to make the playoffs and play us again. But yeah, it's a wrap, unfortunately, and I hate it because of the interactions that you and I have had, that we've had. You are a part. He is as much a part of the 49ers, YouTube circle as Don Burr,
Yes,
as
the
that
legends.
crazy Bears nut job. Like now, like you are like a part of all this or whatever. So, and I know we joke around a lot or whatever, but it is cooler when the Rams are having a chance to play them again in the playoffs, because that rivalry, we talked about it. I think that rivalry is the peak right now.
Yeah.
Even over Seattle.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. But we'll see how it feels in a couple of weeks. And Niners play Thursday night with maybe the NFC on the line against the Seahawks. So we'll maybe see how that feels then. Let's go to the offensive line. Obviously, there's a name a lot of people are going to want to talk about.
Start it.
He was credited with only one pressure allowed, but Mike McGlinchey, it's now getting to a point because of Shannon Sharp where the little Niner Twitter going at each other about Mike McGlinchey is now kind of turning into a national conversation because of Sharp on Twitter and on Undisputed, whatever show he's on Fox. There's a couple highlights that didn't look great for McGlinchey. I do want to touch on Aaron Banks as well. One pressure allowed. He has not allowed a sack as well. He's been very solid all season.
Legendary.
Jake Brendel was called for a couple penalties, so not great there. Jay Aguayo taking what I said. And Banks has been so consistent. 0 sacks allowed. Thank you very much for the donation. He's absolutely right. I don't know, Jason. We've been very I don't want to say defensive, but we're pro.
Not defensive. We just haven't gone hard on Mike.
We're pro Mike McGlinchey on this podcast. It's starting to get to that point where it's hard to defend him.
Yeah.
Because now, because the saving grace we had was those bad pressures that he allowed. At least like the run game, he's been solid. Now there's the bad blocks are now leaking into the run game as well, and it makes it a little harder. That's all I'll say. I'm not going to be too overtly negative. It is a win. Don't ask how. They don't ask how. They ask how many, Jason. But it's a hard conversation to have.
Look, I want Mike McGlinchey to unplug completely from social media.
Yes.
I want you to stop listening. I want you to stop looking. The reason that I know it's true, 2 reasons. John Lynch says he's a victim of social media because of the pictures. Okay, so that means you've spoken to him about it. Joe Staley says he needs to tune out all the noise. And then I hated what he said this week leading up to the game about, well, I know fans wish that they had Derwin James instead of me.
So weird.
Dude, look, this is advice I'm going to give you, Mike McGlinchey, and this is advice that I give myself every day that I look in the mirror now, right, about social media. If it's not fun, if it's not productive, don't go. Mm-hmm. Don't look. Don't look. If people are sending it to you, tell them, don't send this to me. What I want Mike McGlinchey to do is internalize. Look deep down in yourself. Work and work and work and try to figure out how to do it, because listening to all of that and you telling people that I know it feels like 49er fans got socks and underwear when I was drafted. I don't like hearing that, Mike. You know why? That means your confidence is low. I don't like that. You have to be confident. So much of what goes into offensive line, obviously, is physical. But I would say it is far more mental, man. Mm-hmm. You cannot get ahead of yourself. You cannot start pressing. You cannot start, it's built up. This is the 5th year. But I need Mike McGlinchey to unplug, bro. Take your phone, turn it off. You don't need it. Go to practice, go home. Look at your playbook, go to sleep. I don't need you looking at social media at all anymore, because nobody has anything good right now to say about you. They just don't. They don't, man. And you know what's funny? PFF ranked him as a number 6 offensive player on graded out this week for the 49ers. 6th. Yeah. 6th. So Mike McGlinchey, I don't know what you can do, because I can't tell you, hey, you got to work on this, you got to work on that. What I can tell you that you need to do is put the phone down, man. Stop listening to it all. You've got to really, really do some soul searching and internalize, man, and figure this out. Again, the Elijah Mitchell stop right there on 3rd down, that wasn't his fault. Elijah Mitchell was already falling down. He should have walked in. But he did whiff on the block horrifically. It was so bad. The guy just pushed him out of the way. It's in your head now, dude. It's in your head. And I don't like hearing you say things like that, because offensive line is so between the ears, right? It's a thinking man's game. You have to be able to pick up stunts, keep yourself confident, keep going. I just don't like what I'm hearing. Mike, please get off of social media. Please stop listening. Please.
Maybe what we can do as a collective 49ers Twitter. So us as a whole. So take this clip, send it to all your 49er friends. Let's just go like maybe 2 weeks of no McGlinchey talk. And maybe that'll, because it's a very hard ask to ask somebody to get off social media. So we as 49ers Twitter should just not talk about it. Maybe he'll be like, oh, they're not talking about me anymore. And he'll improve. So think about it the other side, Jason. We as a whole should be better.
Yeah. And all right, look. All right, so
I just wanted to other side you on the argument.
We should, but at the same time, you know,
that's impossible. That's a big ask.
A lot of people want to jump on where they were right?
At the risk of gatekeeping, I don't think that'll happen.
I'm guilty of it as well too. I think the best advice that I can give him and myself, if social media is not productive, not helpful, stop it. Just get away from it. Just stop watching it.
I mean, the good news is for him is Elon Musk is just going to end it all anyways on Twitter. So like,
there you go.
He doesn't even have to ignore it at that point. It's just going to be gone. Jason, we're going to transition to the defense now. Before then, if you are new to the Sprint Right Option podcast, great time to subscribe. Holiday season is coming around, and I cannot think of a better gift to give than a subscription to the Sprint Right Option podcast. Anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Subscribe to Jason Ponce's YouTube channel as well. It's great gift as well. I think I'm going to get my girlfriend that as a subscription to Jason Ponce's YouTube channel. It's that time of year. So think of others and give the gift of the Sprint Right Option podcast, preferably the gift of Jason Aponte.
We had a lot of talk about Mike McGlinchey. Shout out to Aaron Banks, man.
Shout out Aaron. I absolutely wanted to make sure I got it in. Once again, no sacks allowed, only one pressure. It's almost like we should stop deeming players busts
before they even play.
And to Banks' case, before they even get on the field. So maybe we should stop doing that because he's been very, very good.
There's been a lot of talk about, Andrew and Jason voiced concerns about Talanoa Hufanga. I think we have walked that all the way back.
I think we're still at a point in the market though where I feel like anytime people say they said Hufanga wasn't going to be good, I just feel like they is
when.
Us.
Yeah, but when?
Just in general.
No. My thing is, when did we ever say that he wasn't going to be good? Concerns are one thing. Yes. And we also, and you know what? To take a little bit of a victory lap, we kind of laid it out there about where he needed to improve. And he's actually done exactly what we asked him. No, we asked him to play with anticipation. We asked him to play, and he's doing all of those things.
Yeah.
But my thing is, Aaron Banks never even got on the field.
Never got on the field, man.
He didn't even play, and people were just like, bust. I'm like, dude,
they needed to bring back Lake and Tomlinson because there's no way Aaron Banks is going to be good.
Yeah,
weird how that works.
So like, look again, just if there's no sample size, definitely stay away from it. Yes. If there's a small sample size, definitely know that person can grow, and that's what we're seeing. That's it. Like, again, we never once. And if anybody wants to try to find the footage or find the tweet where we said he is never going to be good, I would love to see that. And I'll Venmo you some money if you can come up with that and find it. Because I know for a fact I never said that because I'm a big proponent of I have concerns, but that doesn't mean the player can't be that. I know we just went over to Hufanga, but it was him and Banks kind of are a similar case study. The only difference is Hufanga actually played. Banks never played, but people were like, and you know what else too? I don't have opinions on offensive line, especially projecting it because
it's so hard.
It is, and it's hard. I'm not good with it. I defer to Brad Graham, Brett Rumbeck, Rich Madrid. I defer to the people who know that more than I do. So I stay away from offensive line people. That's why we're so kind of like whatever on Mike McGlinchey.
In my winners and losers article from after every game, when I saw that your boy Jason Aponte and Robin right now.
Robin.
Love you, marketing pro. In my winners and losers, people are always like, oh, like why didn't you mention Williams having a really good game or McGlinchey having whatever it may be? And in my head, I'm just like, offensive line is every single. I got to write these articles right after the game, man. I have no information on the offense. It's just more of a feel, and I don't want to go off feel for it. You mentioned Hufanga, so actually let's transition to the secondary. Let's start with the secondary. The Niners held Justin Herbert to 196 yards, Jason. For
I feel like
secondary, the pass rush was huge in that as well. I went back and looked at Justin Herbert's worst games in his career, 41 career games. Week 10, 2020, 187 against the Dolphins. Week 10, 2021, 195 against the Vikings. Week 6, 2021, 195 against the Ravens. Week 10, 2022, 196 against the Niners. So his fourth worst game in terms of passing yards. Obviously, if we're going off the trends, week 10, bet against Justin Herbert. 3 of his 4 worst games to come in his 3 week 10 games. Niners secondary was humming. I'm a little bummed it took until the last drive to get the interception, mainly because I had underdog, promo code Aponte 2103 for Herbert over half an interception. So I'm a little bummed I had to sweat it out till the very end to get it. Nice. But that's okay. That's just a personal complaint. But the secondary as a whole is very good. Hufanga with the interception. Mooney Ward was good. Diameter Lenore, not too many complaints there as well. The Jimmy Ward and the slot thing's working fine, but also you got to remember the Chargers down to their 3rd and 4th receivers. I heard somewhere that Hufanga saved us 36 plus points, like yesterday or in the season. Because
I think overall, because there's that next gen stat about expected points saved. If you guys want to pull that up on Twitter, that there's something to that effect. But thank you for the donation.
I'll just Google expected points saved and see.
I want to blame Andrew Pasquini just a little bit here. Yep.
Yeah, I'm ready. Blame me for this. I love it. I love being blamed.
You
me
willed DeAndre Carter into the end zone. Sacramento State. I don't care where he played, Pasquini. If he's on the other side and he's against the San Francisco 49ers, you do not make anything up about that. Like at all. Like you do not say anything. You do not praise him in any way. But that was just a coverage bust. So that's just, it is what the first drive of this game. The first drive of this game kind of led people to say, "Ah, man, here we go."
Yes.
And this is if you haven't gotten the memo yet, this is your memo, 49er fans. Stop talking crazy about DeMeco Ryans after one drive. It'll only make you look dumb in your tweets after. Please.
It's so funny because to make it about the offense, people talk about how good Shanahan is at scripting those first few drives, and then how he struggles kind of figuring it out. I don't know why just the opposite side doesn't account for Ryans, because we seem to freak out every time the opposing team's scripted plays work, which, shocker, that's what they're supposed to do. You literally work on those all week. You're scripting those plays out for a reason. You're going to make them work in the game. And then afterwards, we're going to get into a conversation about 4th downs, but after that first drive, what did the Chargers do offensively?
Nothing.
What did they do?
So for the last 2 games, the Los Angeles Rams and the Los Angeles Chargers in the second half had less than 100 total offensive yards combined. Mm-hmm. You know how hard it is to do that? It almost seems like on offense, you have to try to not have that many yards. Do you know how hard that is to do? Again, one drive doesn't mean the game's over, and you have to give DeMeco Ryans his flowers for being able to adjust. And he's still in his 2nd year. Enjoy him while he's here, because he will be a head coach next year. But I just implore 49ers fans, that's why you notice I've kind of just stopped, talking emotionally. I'll laugh at something or something like that, fine on Twitter. Stop tweeting early in games and saying things that Old Takes Exposed can use against you. This is the 2nd straight week of 49ers football that I am imploring you guys. I had people last week with the Rams game. This team's not a good team. This defense is cooked. DeMeco Ryans isn't going to be a head coach. Oh, here we go again. Look at this. And then look, 54 total yards in the second half. Calm down. I understand. You have your emotions. We all run on emotions. We're all passionate. Passion shouldn't overtake your logic. Logic is where you need to be.
I'm very curious. I'm looking this up really quick. That's why I got a little quiet there. I'm very curious to see how many teams have been held to their fewest total yards in a game against the 49ers. I'm already at 3. The Seahawks' fewest yard total came against the Niners. The Bears' fewest yard total came against the Niners. And the Chargers' fewest yard total came against the Niners. So there's that. I'm probably look into that later. But yeah, no, the Niners defense is very good. Throw out the first quarter every time. And honestly, if they hold the opposing team scripted plays to 0 points, might just want to maybe call that game because I don't think the other team's offense is going to do anything. And that's what the Niners did last night.
Some of the stats that I tweeted out this morning, the 49ers defense ranks first in yards per game allowed, rushing yards allowed per game, rushing yards per play, and first downs allowed per game. And they rank second in yards per play, and they are third in sacks per pass attempt. If that is not good, is that good, Andrew? Is that good? Like, is
that sounds good?
And
it feels good.
And the 49ers were missing Samson Ebukam, Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw. Like, guys, I get it. You're passionate. I love the passion. Keep it going. But calm down after one damn drive, man. Unbelievable, man. The things that people say about DeMeco Ryans, man. I'm glad DeMeco Ryans is not on social media because if I was him, I would be quote tweeting people and being like, "This you? What happened? Oh, what?" And just mad question marks, like all those things, like petty.
Just be retweeting all the first quarter tweets,
right? Like just petty to the max. Like, guys, he'll be fine. They'll be fine, and this team is getting back to health without their guys getting ejected.
Last secondary note I have: Samuel Womack maybe making one of the sneaky play of the game. Mitch Wisnowski hit a punt. That Womack down at the 1. A lot of people seem to think that it should have been called a touchback, which by the law of the rule, I can see it being ruled a touchback if that's what the law of the rule is. But in my mind, and I'm going to just use a total nerd term here, the spirit of the rule, there is no way that should be called a touchback because he had, if we're going with the receiver rules, he had both feet planted with the ball in his hands. And then the ref blew his whistle. I don't like, I get what the rule is written. And yes, it should have maybe been a touchback. I'm still not fully clear on it. But in the spirit of the rule, I just don't see how you can consciously say, yeah, that's a touchback.
Andrew, the way that, because today, I don't know what his name is, but he's the rules analyst on NBC. He woke up today and was tweeting more about it.
He was still tweeting about it.
Right. So my thing is this. If the whistle doesn't blow it dead, all right, so let's just hypothetically, that means Samuel Womack is standing at the 1 right now at 8:57 Eastern time on Monday, and someone pushes him into the end zone, and it's still a touchback with nobody in the stadium. Like, when on earth does the play end? When does it end?
Because I guess my question is, if we're using the logic that the whistle blows, he has the ball at the 1, but if the whistle doesn't blow the ball dead and he backs into the end zone for a touchback, what's stopping the Niners from having a punt out of their own end zone, have Womack down it at the 40, they blow the whistle at the 40, but then Womack picks up the ball and walks to the opposing 1-yard line and then goes out of bounds? What's the rule there? Like, if the whistle doesn't blow the ball dead, can he? What's the difference between him falling backwards a yard and him just walking the ball 40 yards back?
Andrew, I'm surprised that maybe Samuel Womack is carrying the football when the game's over and everybody's high-fiving and he walks into the end zone, that Chris Collinsworth wasn't like, "It's a touchback, see, he's doing it, he's in the end zone." The game's over, my guy. When does the play end? Like, I understand the whole idea of breaking the plane, right? The plane is supposed to start right where it is on the end zone and like go around the world, right? Like, that's what the way certain people have it, right? But when does the play end? They called it, they call it, and he's just standing there high-fiving his teammates. So if he just like did a backflip into the end zone, touchback, this rule, while it can be interpreted whatever way, come on, man. Like, they spent 2 hours on 2 calls. This call and the Greenlaw call.
And we'll dive into that one here in a second. Yeah, I'm just like, they came back from commercial and I wasn't really listening, and I hear them say, yeah, it should have been called a touchback. And I had the instant reaction of, what the hell are they talking about? And I had to turn up the TV and be like, I guess I see it, but I just don't understand how. I just don't understand how in the world that's called a touchback. So let's get to the other controversial call and talk about the linebackers really quick. Fred Warner was very good. Fred Warner is back. Fred Warner's done this thing the past couple years, maybe since the extension, where he kind of starts slow, and then he has a few games where it's like, oh, yeah, he's that guy. He's back. So I want to mention Fred Warner before we dive into the Greenlaw play. Greenlaw finishes with 7 tackles, tied for a team high. His return was cut
Insane.
short. He got disqualified at halftime on a play where Justin Herbert scrambles for a first down. Jimmy Ward brings him down. Dre Greenlaw leads with his helmet, makes helmet-to-helmet contact, and they deemed it was enough for a disqualification. In terms of the penalty being called, yeah, I think a penalty should be called. A helmet-to-helmet contact was created. I think that should be a penalty every time, and that's A-okay. I don't know how there was enough for an ejection because I think it was pretty obvious that Ward's tackle changed the trajectory of where Herbert's body was going. And Greenlaw he didn't have enough time. Now, if you want to have the conversation, and it's a conversation Jason and I have had, that sometimes he's got to cool the jets just a little bit, we can have that conversation. I don't think it warranted a game disqualification. A penalty, yes, not a disqualification.
Yeah, in this instance, I'm not going to blame him going 100 miles an hour at this point because it was the way he was hit into him. That's a surefire penalty because you hit a quarterback in the head. Makes sense, but come on, man. No way was that a disqualification. The only thing that kind of made this feel a little bit easier was the fact that Azeez was back. I want to give Azeez his love too. He was very good in this game too, all over the place. Love that guy. Hope he's back. Not sure about that, but yeah, I'm not gonna blame Greenlaw and his motor on this one. I think that was just an awkward play, just is what it is. But the refs, man, they had a rough night.
Yep.
The right tackles fall starting almost 5 times in a row, and there's nothing. And that was supposed to be a touchback. And then I love the rules analyst again. He had a rough night too, man. Usually he just gets to talk for maybe 1 or 2 times, but he was going through it, and social media was letting him have it. The man basically snitched on Troy Vincent. It was it was Troy Vincent from New York. He's the one who buzzed and said, all right, he's got to get out of the game or whatever. So they're trying to siphon off blame from the refs. The refs had a really bad day. I don't like criticizing the refs because they have a hard ass job and it's very hard in the moment to see those things. That's why they get paid to do it, I guess. But at the same time, it was pretty piss poor from the refs all over across the board yesterday.
And on my side of it too is if people are still complaining about the refs today, the Niners won, and that should be the furthest from the mind.
And Terry won't be suspended.
Terry McAuley, I believe that's how you pronounce it, is the rules analyst on NBC. Jason, we're at 47 minutes. Time flies when you're just talking with your friend about football, and I didn't realize it.
And the team wins.
Let's get to the defensive line, huh? Defensive line was the most impressive part of the team, I think. They finished with, I believe it was 2019 pressures on Justin Herbert. But the other thing as well that really stood out to me was they essentially just took away the Chargers' run game. Austin Eckler had 6 carries for 24 yards. The team as a whole had 16 carries for 51 yards. Eckler's 6 rushes went for 0, 5, 2, 3, 12, and 2 yards. The line was stuffing it the whole time. The edges were creating pressure. Bosa was a beast all game. Jordan Willis's return, humongous. The Niners defensive line was so damn impressive last night. It really felt like they were the reasons they won that game.
Jordan Willis, Omenihu, they deserve their props. Nick Bosa had a whole hum, four quarterback hits, a sack. Yeah, well, whatever. That's just Nick Bosa things. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the running game. Again, first in the league in rushing yards per game allowed, all of those things. You can't run the ball on this team when you become one-dimensional and it plays right into the 49ers' hands. Evergreen statement, 49ers defensive line is very good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty easy to keep it.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to leave it. I don't think you need to really know the Niners to see the impact that their defensive line had in that game last night. And as long as Bosa's there, that defensive line is elite, because you got to remember, they stuffed the We're talking about stopping the Chargers defensive or the Chargers running attack. No Armstead, no Kinlaw. So these are the rotational pieces that the Niners planned. Hassan Ridgeway felt like he had a big game. He's in the Kerry Hyder. Drake Jackson had a bat down, but also the name I just said, Kerry Hyder, feels like he's playing a little more on the inside as well. Just as a whole, the Niners defensive line is clicking.
And they might get healthy.
And they're getting healthy. That's the scary thing is now we're talking about maybe December. They maybe get Kinlaw and Armstead back, and now you're really rolling. So that's the scary thought. Jason, last thing before we get into 3 stars and get out of here because we're creeping up on an hour, and people got their things on Monday nights to do. Kyle Shanahan. He went for a 4th down. Let's clap it up there. He went for a 4th down. They got it. I still have issues though. They opened their drive. They opened their game by getting to the Chargers 2-yard line, and they opted to kick a 20-yard field goal. Once again, that's one of those fringe. Like, it's start of the game, plenty of game, whatever. I don't care. They had a couple 4th downs where I felt like maybe they could have gone for it, maybe they couldn't have. The one that really lost me is the Niners up 3 with the ball at the Chargers 1-yard line on a 3rd down. He calls a run play, the play that you mentioned earlier where Mitchell slips, McGlinchey gets blown by. My issue with that play is the play call. You're at the 1-yard line. Why the hell are you in shotgun? Why are you in shotgun? Quarterback sneaks work, man. Like we talk about it all the time. The quarterback sneak works. They lose the yard. Now they're at the 2-yard line, up 3. Chargers have no timeouts and a minute left in the game. So it's either, in my mind, you go for it either way. You get the touchdown, the game is over. Or you don't get it. The Chargers either have to go 99 yards with no timeouts to win the game, or go give or take 60 yards to get in field goal range to tie the game. Shanahan goes for the field goal, makes it a 6-point game. The problem with that is the Chargers get the ball with a chance to win the game still. They didn't eliminate losing because you're up 6. And yeah, Herbert throws the Hufanga interception on the first play, and that wipes it away. But you're still giving the Chargers the ball back with better field position than if you would have gone for it, albeit a situation where it's win or bust instead of a field goal or touchdown. But man, the way the Niners defense was playing, you're giving the Chargers, if you don't get it, you're up 3, giving the Chargers a minute and no timeouts to go sit in 60 yards. The Charger, how many drives did the Chargers offense get 60 yards? 75 on the first, 38, 3, 4, 39, 31, 16, 3, 7, 0. Wait, so you're telling me that they didn't get 60 yards in a drive? Since the first drive of the game, Shanahan can't go for 4th down there. When's he going to go for a 4th down? So that's my complaint, man. Is once again, we're talking about the 4th downs. He has a chance to put the game away, to win the football game, go up two scores with a minute to go, and he opts to keep the Chargers in the game. I'm not having this conversation, Jason, if the Niners go for a 4th down and get stopped there. We're not talking about this. But he opted for the field goal to keep the Chargers in the game. That's where it's at.
Kyle Shanahan, man. My biggest complaint is always going to be this. You have a chance to really, really, really like step on people's necks. And then it's you give us a little bit of it in the Monday Night Football game last year. 4th down, you throw a pass to Deebo Samuel, effectively ends the game. Look, there's a large discussion about going for it on 4th and, just taking it by the book and just this, and this. It's got to be feel. It's got to understand that you can end the game right there. And again, quarterback sneaks work every single time. If your team can't get a yard, you've got bigger problems than whether you should go for it. It's Kyle's a little bit like his father, a little bit like, you got to, the defense was playing well. That's fine. But I feel that was even more of a reason for you to try to go for it on 4th down is, then they got to go 99 yards. And you believe that your defense can do it. I mean, they had 54 yards in the second half, right? Like, I just want to see killer instinct because there's going to be games where, you're facing a better opponent. You have a chance to really knock them out. Like, that's my thing, man. It's just like, come on. That's always going to be my biggest complaint is the long drives, all the stuff, everything. It's like, damn, man, like we make fun of other players, other coaches for going for it on 4th and, trying this and trying that. Just, man, step on the neck, man. I'd love to see that. Just like end the game, yeah, like come on, man. Like there has to be like there has to be a give and take. It can't be, oh, the book says this or this, and like, come on, like just finish the job, man, and get it done. So yeah, I mean, that's the complaint that I have. I think that's going to be an evergreen complaint, something that I don't think he's ever going to get out of. Especially when the result comes out this way and they win. So it's just like, he can still lean back on this and just be like, yeah, whatever. Whatever. You guys want me to go for it? We won. So, it's yeah, it sucks, man. But yeah, I hate that part of it too with Kyle. That's always going to be my biggest criticism.
My very loose comparison, and everybody loves Andrew Pasquini. It's just comparisons that don't make sense ever, but he makes them work somehow. Is Albert Einstein is considered a genius because he solved the equals MC squared or whatever. I don't even know why we call him. He's just a genius, right? But like, if he can solve E equals MC squared, but he can't solve 2 + 2, like how much of a genius is he? And Shanahan, to me, he's an offensive genius, right? But like, for some reason, these 4th and 1s, just he doesn't want to even attempt to solve. And you saw in the group chat earlier today my kind of loose comparison, which I don't think there's an exact correlation to this, but the 49ers are top 5 in terms of third down conversions. They convert at like a 46% rate on third downs, but they're in the bottom 5 and even attempting 4th downs. He's so confident. Like, I feel like he's more confident calling a 3rd and 8 than he is a 4th and inches. Like, it's this weird thing because at least on 3rd and 8, he's just going to throw the ball to Juwan Jennings 9 yards downfield and get a first down. But for some reason, that third down confidence just disappears on 4th. And it's like, I'm not calling for him to go on 4th and 8s at his own, 33, but
right. Like, and not every single time.
They had a what was the knuckle punt, not the knuckle punt, the punt they downed at the 1? What was the situation they punted? It was 4th and 5 at the Chargers 41. And yeah, it ends up working out, right? Because you down them at the 1. But like, I don't know, maybe just say, hey, too close to punt, too far to kick. Maybe, and they're up 3 with what is it, 2 minutes left. So maybe that's a stretch. I don't know, live a little. Like, at least think about it, because that was my concern. Is Jimmy Garoppolo, like, my concern on that play was the Niners get 8 yards on 3rd down to make it 4th and 5 at the Chargers 41. And they cut to Jimmy Garoppolo, and Jimmy Garoppolo is already running off the field. I just want Jimmy Garoppolo to like pretend, like look at the sideline and be like, are we maybe go? Okay, no, okay, we'll go in. It's just like, we didn't get the first down on 3rd down. We're going back to the side. Like, at least pretend you're going for it at some point.
I like when Harbaugh asked Lamar, you want to go for this? And Lamar's like, yeah, let's go. You know what? I like that, man. I like the give and take between the quarterback and the coach. That's a discussion for another day, but I have a feeling this isn't the last time we're going to be talking about Kyle going forward and forth, man. I just like for him to be a little bit more aggressive. That's it. Well, that's it. Just a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's the point, because you say, hey, they won. He could easily say it. Spoiler, there might be a game later this season where Kyle doesn't go for it on 4th down, and it's maybe the reason they lose. And now this conversation feels.
Please don't put that into.
I'm not putting it into the. I'm not.
See, you and the DeAndre Carter thing, and now this is what you're doing.
It's just the internet. Nothing exists on the internet. It's not going to come back and bite me in the ass if I'm right. Okay, Jason, this is just going to disappear and it's going to be gone forever. But like there might be a situation where that happens, and now this conversation feels a little more important, even though the Niners won, because it is a trend. So there's my bi-weekly Kyle Shanahan doesn't seem to want to go for it on 4th down rants. We'll see you in 2 weeks against whoever they play in 2 weeks. Who Saints? Is it the Saints?
Yes, it will be the Saints. And Jameis Winston's going to be starting.
Terror Dome says different abilities between Jimmy and Lamar. I don't know, man. Jimmy's pretty good at those sneaks, man. Looks pretty good as his runner on those sneaks.
If it's 1 yard, I would literally tell the defense, quarterback sneak, you can't stop it.
Okay, but like this is my dumb football brain. On 3rd and 1, how are you just not doing back-to-back quarterback sneaks? If you don't get it on 3rd down, you're going to get it on 4th down. Like, I don't know. That's neither here nor there. Hey, Jason, 3 stars. You ready? You got them ready?
Let's go.
I got my 3 stars. My third star is Nick Bosa. Nice. He's pretty good. 9 pressures, 5 quarterback hits, a sack. Kind of just an evergreen statement. Nick Bosa is pretty good at football.
Yeah, mine is going to be Jimmy Garoppolo. I like what he did on 3rd down, and he kept the drives going. I think that's it. I think a lot of people get hung up on box score. I think a lot of people will say, well, he won a game where he didn't throw a touchdown. Well, he scored a touchdown, probably would have had another touchdown, but he made some big plays on 3rd down when everybody knew he was going to throw the ball, obvious passing situations. I'll give it to Jimmy Garoppolo, number 3.
My number 2 star is going to be Fred Warner, 7 tackles, 3 pass breakups, very good in coverage, very good. He created a pressure on one of his few blitzes. it's just getting to that time of year where Fred Warner starts consistently showing once again that he is one of, if not the best linebacker in the NFL.
Give me Aaron Banks, man. I think that he just continues to just be stellar, man. And I think that is something that's kind of getting overlooked because the large discussion that's going on with the offensive line has more to do with Mike McGlinchey. And a lot of praise is being taken off of Aaron Banks because people are so worried about right tackle. So give me Aaron Banks, somebody who didn't even step on the field and people were writing off. I'm really, really happy. Looks like the 49ers really hit this one out of the park for them. Good for them.
My number one star is Elijah Mitchell, 18 carries, 89 yards, no touchdowns, but the Chargers just did not have an answer for him. He was, as I said earlier, he's consistently getting 5, 6, 7 yards a carry. He's just his vision. Like if we're on a scale here, like Trent Richardson's on one side, Elijah Mitchell's vision's on the other. Like that's Richardson? How. Yeah, you remember Trent Richardson's vision where
I do.
He'd be so looking at an 8-yard wide hole, and he'd be like, "What about that half-yard wide hole on the right there? I can go to that one and see how that works." But I just Elijah Mitchell for the idea for the aspect of I didn't expect him to get 18 touches period, and he's getting 18 carries, busting out 5 yards per carry. He was very good on the Niners offense, and I don't know if that game might be a little different if they don't have Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, and I'm gonna steal one of yours. Give me Fred Warner. It always seems like down the stretch he always finds a way to heat up. Man, he's taking his game to another level. A lot of people forget last year for the 49ers having a deep playoff run has so much to do with Fred Warner. Man, he is. Whenever it needs to, when push comes to shove, it's always going to be Fred Warner, man. I think that a lot of people, because of a few games, start to get confused into what he is. But yeah, man, it's Fred Warner for me, all pro Fred, as the kids call him.
Perfect. So what's coming up for the 49ers? Their next game is at Estadio Azteca against the Arizona Cardinals, Monday Night Football next week. Where the Niners stand currently in the NFC playoffs, 7 seed, 5-4. They'd currently be lined up to play the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. But huge change here. With the Seahawks and Buccaneers having a bye, a win for the 49ers moves them to 6-4, tied for the top spot in the NFC West, which would actually give them the first spot of the NFC West. So with a win against the Cardinals, the Niners would jump from the 7 to the 3 seed, the difference between going to Minnesota and hosting the Dallas, or no, I believe it would be the Giants, Cowboys, one of the two, whatever happens there. So a pretty big game for the Niners coming up on Monday. We will be back Friday on the Sprint Right Option podcast to preview said Monday Night Football game. Jason, you have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No. Look, guys, wins are not easy to come by in the NFL. If they were, then everybody would have a bunch of them. So regardless of how it came, I think I want to say this before we go. Stop talking to me about what you feel this team is going to be in the playoffs when there is another 8 weeks of football left to play. If the 49ers had a playoff game next week, you have absolutely every right to be concerned with the offense. As of now, they don't. They've got a bunch of regular season games left. When we get to week 18, we will figure out where this team is. We will see the landscape of the NFC. Does that mean that the Vikings are world beaters at that point? I don't know. Does that mean that the Philadelphia Eagles are feared by everybody? I don't know. Does that mean that the 49ers are playing their best football? I don't know. The point is, right now, making grand statements about, well, I know this team can't win this game, and I know this team is not going to make a deep playoff run, seems a little bit foolish and a little bit lighthearted right now at this point to do with 8 more weeks of football. If you want to hang your hat on, well, I've seen this movie before, fine, be negative. Do what you got to do, man. But at this point, every season is different. Everything is something until it's nothing. Trends change, and when they change, they have to have something different happen. We will figure all that out in week 18, betting on health, figuring out where this team is, and looking at the landscape of the NFC. As of right now, the offense is a concern, but that does not mean that they can't figure it out in 8 weeks. That is my message to 49ers fans.
I think that was the perfect way to end the podcast. I love it. Jason, we're going to get more information on something exciting we're doing next Tuesday. So we'll have more info on that, but we tease it
on Friday.
Bit. Yeah, you know what I meant. That's all that matters. We'll have more information on that on Friday. So we talked about it last week. We'll tease it again here. We got some exciting stuff coming next Tuesday for you guys. So Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Hey, 6-4. Can't complain, huh?
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.